Hello, I'm going to be showing you how to generate some terrain quite like what you see here. Not exactly like this. I'm just going to show you the process of how I make it. Now, first off, I do need to warn you guys, this is an advanced tutorial and most of you will most likely click off in the next couple of seconds. But before you do, definitely make sure to comment down below what kind of tutorial you would like to see. And then, I may or may not make it, and if I do, don't forget to subscribe to see when I make that video. So, I think I messed up my English just a slight bit there, but long story short, just comment down below what video you want to see and, subscribe to see that video possibly in the future. So now let me actually get into showing the process of how to do this. Now, this is an advanced tutorial, and I would recommend that most people, get back in my whole profile here, there we go, front view. So most people are not going to be able to do this. You first off need to have Blender, you need, well, a computer, and then you need to have Blender as well as World Painter. Those are the two needs. I would also recommend Krita as well, and the links to those will be in the description below. I'm not going to be showing how to use Krita. I'm not going to be showing how to use World Painter except for very basic functions. Pretty much for the most part, I'm just going to be showing you how to use Blender to generate the terrain, but I'm not going to go over any of the Blender basics. If you want to know how to use Blender, I have a couple of how to render YouTube videos, and then also on top of that, there's also a YouTube channel called Blender Guru, and his channel will be linked in the description because he has some great tutorials on how to use Blender, so that'll show you the basics. Now, the pros and cons of doing this. I need to explain this first and foremost because many people will believe, well, why do I need this? Professional builders will already know because this is basically an alternative to World Machine. World Machine costs, I believe, around $160. Now, I would recommend if you are a professional builder, just use World Machine because you will get paid probably around $60 for 2 hours of work. 2 hours of work that, 2 hours of work, $60 for those 2 hours. So $30 an hour basically to generate terrain using World Machine. And it's just get started with World Machine if you want to get paid for it if you're a professional builder. However, if you are a serious builder, or even if you're a professional builder and you just don't want to have to pay for it, this is a good alternative for sure. And you can, if you are planning on getting paid for this kind of stuff, obviously you can customize it to whatever extent that you need to get the exact result that your commission buyer person wants, or whatever. And then if you're a serious builder and you just want to build massive projects and you can't build all of the terrain by hand because of how large it is, let's say if you need a 10K by 10K map, then this is definitely going to be another good way of doing it that will save you a lot of time. And then also it's just, it's pretty much, it's very, very useful for that kind of stuff. Also, if you are trying to make a factions realm on Bedrock, or if you're trying to make a realm or a server on Bedrock or on Java, this is also just a great way of doing that because it allows you to save a lot of time by getting a lot of custom terrain out very quickly. I would recommend it because of, first off of that alone, being able to make this much custom terrain really quickly. You can generate like 10K by 10K maps relatively quickly, especially if you actually put some hours of work into it. If you put like 10 hours of work, or if you put enough work into it, you can definitely make a really amazing map. So you can do that kind of stuff. Now, I'm actually going to get started into showing you how to do it. I just want to get all of that out of the way. I'm just going to save and quit out of that world. I don't want to crash, so I'm just going to exit out of Minecraft. And I'm going to minimize all my screens real quick, recording stuff. And probably, there we go. And here we go. Get Blender all set up. Now, first off, yours is going to look a little bit different because, I have mine set up a little bit weirdly. And there is the first method I'm going to be showing you how to do. Now, there's two parts of this series. This video will be on using A.N.T landscape generator. Now, all you have to do is look up land in the preferences on the add-on. So go to edit, go to preferences, and then you have your interface, themes, viewport, lights, blah, 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 blah. Go down to add-ons, and if you type in land into the search bar, you will get add mesh A.N.T landscape. Now, this is actually what generates the terrain. This is going to save you a lot of time. This is for really quick stuff, for sure, and it's just really useful. It's very good. You can customize it to an extreme, so it's very useful in that sense. Now, the next part of this, the part 2 of this series will actually be using nodes and only nodes. So it's pretty useful for sure. Now let me actually get over into here. Now if you press Shift A, and go into our mesh, and we can go to landscape. Now the add-on that I just showed you, you don't need to download it. It's pre-downloaded with Blender. You just need to enable it. Now I'm just going to press the period button on the number pad, and it just zooms in on the object for me. Now I'm gonna, if you click off of the object like I accidentally just did, you will not let you edit it any further after that point. So that's good to know. Don't click off of it once you have it up. So if I click off it, you can see it doesn't work. Now I have to re-add this in, as mentioned. So now what you can do is go into here and you can change a bunch of different settings. So first off, there's the presets. So for example, we can go into here, we can press dunes, and we can get some really nice dune shapes. And we can do different noise sizes, for example. So we can make the noise size be a little bit smaller, so we can get a shape more like this. We can also get different things as well, like depth. So there we go. This will make it go much deeper in. This is actually a pretty cool looking mountain already. There's also the amplifier. I think this is amplitude. Yeah, there we go. And then the frequency of it as well. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff with this. Height, offset, all sorts of different things that you can adjust this for. Now, height, I would recommend not adjusting, but pretty much you can adjust this to do almost anything. And that's pretty much what these presets are doing, is just adjusting it until, to get it to a certain shape that you want. Now, I'm not entirely sure which preset I want to use. I think I'm just going to use something quite default that works well. Sometimes this can look a little odd if you don't have it set up right, but I think this would actually be some pretty decently cool terrain. However, I want to use some pretty standard coloring. I don't want to have to do anything with clay, because I would probably color this with clay if I didn't use it, though I may actually try that out. You know what? Here, let's just do it. Let's just do it. If it looks weird in the end, I'll just redo the video again. Yeah, again. Last time it wasn't my fault, though. It's just an hour-long video. So here we go. This right here, I increase the subdivisions because that's how you increase the detail of your height map, is by actually increasing the detail of the mesh. That's actually not a good thing, and that's why I have the alternative method as well. Now, I'm going to increase mine to 1080 because I just want to have a lot of detail. It's safer to have too much detail than not enough detail. If you don't have enough detail, it will make a lot of areas that are very flat, and it's just not going to look very detailed in the end. So yeah, it's just a bit of a warning there. Now, I think this will actually look pretty cool. So let's actually see what this looks like. Pretty interesting that this is all math that's doing this. This is generating it using math functions. That's pretty cool to think about, in my opinion. So here we go. I think I accidentally clicked something, so we gotta wait for it to load, which is fine. I don't want to edit very much out because I want to make sure you guys see everything that I'm doing, because you never know. I might accidentally do something that might confuse you guys. I think this terrain will be pretty good. I just want to pick maybe a random seed. I was 256. Let's hope that works. I would recommend picking the seed before you actually start doing it, but whatever, you know, it doesn't matter right now because this is just a basic tutorial. So here we go. Actually, yeah, this is good enough. I think this will be good. Now, how tall do I want this to be? I don't want this to be a height limit, because obviously if I was going to use this for a build, then the build would have to be on top of this. So how do I actually visualize how I want the build to look like? Now that's obviously a good question. Now press N and it'll open up this thing here. Now I visualize it by actually adding in the size of the build. Now I go to 256, and then if I put this by 1080 by 1080, it's going to have the build look like this. So if I added it into Minecraft, oh, sorry, there's a clipping area so that we don't use as much information. However, we can increase that because we don't need that to prohibit this. So we add another 0 in, there we go. That won't clip as easily. So with this is what it would basically look like if the map was 1080 by 1080 by 256. This gives you a rough idea because it's in meters, and a Minecraft block is 1 meter by 1 meter. So this is basically what it would look like if this was 256. Now, let's say if we want our build to be 128 blocks tall, this is what's going to look like if it was 1080 by 1080. And now let's see, if it was 512 by 512, this is what it would look like if it was 128 meters tall. And I want mine to be probably 755. I don't know why 55, but I think that'll be a decent size. The 128 blocks tall seems pretty decent to me. I think this will look pretty cool at that height. Let's see. I think this will look pretty neat. This is good enough. This is basically how as mentioned, this is how I visualize. So this is a rough idea. Now, remember, this is a rough idea of what it's going to look like, because obviously this is not voxelized. This is basically just to give you a very rough idea of what it's going to look like. Now, because this is at 128 blocks tall, if I actually add this into the game, this is what it will look like if I do not set up the height map correctly. If I set up the height map correctly, it's not going to look like that. It's going to look like, oops, it's going to look like this if I set up the height map correctly. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is show you how to do that. Now, first off, we're going to need a camera set up in the game. Now we go Shift A, then we can go to camera. We can then press 0, and then inside of here we can turn the rotation to 0. Then we can go 1,000 meters up, and the Z, there we go. Now we're going to go into our rendering settings, which is right here. Not rendering settings, but the resolution. We're going to set the resolution to be 755 because that's the size of the map. And it appears that the orthographic, first off, it's not an orthographic view. Here we go. So this needs to be moved ever so slightly. This needs to be moved a little bit up. And this needs to be, yeah, there we go. And then the camera can be moved a little bit down because I don't want it to be 1,000 meters away. I think this will be, yeah, this is good enough. Now, next thing is we need to actually go into the camera settings, and right now it's in perspective. That means if we go use the focal length, it's going to do pretty much this. This is not what we want. We want orthographic, because as you can see right there, you can't see behind this area. Now that makes sense for real life, but we want orthographic. And we need this to be, the orthographic scale to be like this. This will make sure that everything is added in. So see, we couldn't see any of this detail because it was behind the camera. So now what we're going to need to do is go into our shader editor. And we also need to make sure we have material output on so we can actually see what the material output is supposed to look like. And before we do that, I'm going to go into color management, and I'm going to change it to standard, which is right here. Oops, gotta clear my notifications again. So I turned mine to standard. That seems to help a lot. Now this will actually change how your material looks. And that's one reason why I've been having so much trouble with actually getting this to look right. But you guys should be okay if you fiddle around with it enough. Now, okay, first off, this is my lighting setup. I have a very advanced lighting setup. You guys do not need this. That's for just rendering in general. Now click on the object and then go into here. Yeah, so the world thing, everything I have in here is not going to be applicable. You do not need any of this. In fact, none of this is used at all because it's only for HDRI settings, and there's no HDRI stuff in here. Now if you press Control T, there we go. If you press Control T, this will open up a mapping and a texture coordinate, and that's actually going to help us a lot because then we don't need to find it. That's because I actually have a different add-on turned on, which is, let's see, I think it's, well, apparently I forgot what the add-on's called, but it is a add-on to make sure that, like, to simplify this area over here to make your life a little bit easier. It is the, I don't even remember what it is. I'm sure I'll find it in a second. Node Wrangler, there it is. So just look up Node Wrangler in the presets, and then there you go, you can install that. It's already installed actually, but all you got to do is just press on Node Wrangler, turn that on. It's already pre-installed. It's just, I don't think it's automatically turned on. It also lets you do stuff like Control Shift click, and it will automatically set up to the output. Anyway, so we can go Shift A. Now we need to go to the texture, not texture, sorry. We need to go to converter, separate X, Y, Z. Here we go, converter, separate X, Y, Z. And we can click on that, put that into there, and then we can go to converter color ramp, and then we can take the Z, put that into the factor, and something fell off of my desk, and I'm going to throw something, no, not going to throw it, perfect, fine. Anyway, so first off, we actually need to change this around because this is not where it needs to be. Put it on object. Object or generated will work. However, I think, let me actually double check to make sure this is how it needs to be. I generally like to double check how things need to be by going into here and then adding the material to a cube or a sphere and trying out the different settings. See, this is object, as you can see here, and it sort of sets it up like this, and then this is generated, so it goes to the bottom. I think generated will work a little bit better. However, object will also work, so don't get frustrated if you use object. Either of them will work. As you can tell from the thing below, it pretty much works. They look almost identical, and we're about to fix the issue in a second anyway. We're going to fix quite a bit of it either way. So then we can go over to here, go to B-spline, and set this up around the middle, and there you go. So then if we actually check this out, that is the top of the map right there. So if we actually render image out and we look at this, the white value of that is about 0.9, because some of the gray values sort of leach over sometimes. So if we render image again, let's see, that's going to be, it gets to 0.9 something another. So it's not going to be 256 blocks tall at the moment, which actually is a good thing. Most of the time, if it's, you don't want it to be super tall, because then it's going to have a couple issues. So having a little bit of something like that sometimes will help out quite a bit. So something, here we go. Let's actually see if this is a good idea. There we go. I would recommend somewhere around the middle is a good idea. And if you really want to be extra careful, you can do this just to have it try to gradiate a little bit more smoothly over to the top. Let's just see, render image again. Here we go. It goes to 0.95. Yeah, so that's really good. This would be a really good height map. I think this is pretty well. Yeah, this is a very good height map. I think this is good. Now the problem is that this is at white, which is not a good thing. So let's actually remove that. I was just showing you how you can do it, because we want it to be 125 blocks tall. I mean 28 blocks tall. Now half of 256 is 128. I know that because I used to do redstone calculators back in the day, and I know binary. I know some binary like that, so I keep mine in binary numbers just so I can easily half it or double it. Now for ours, if we actually turn the value down to 0.5, it will be 128 blocks tall.
Well, I actually got a little bit of that wrong just then. So it's not wrong. You can do that. Now what I did, which you just saw me do, which was to change the value of this part of it to be a little bit darker, so that whenever we export it, the height will be fixed. Now I believe later on I actually tell you this, but in World Painter, you'll see this in a minute. But if we actually put a height map into our current dimension, let's hope this is not massive, then we can actually adjust the water level, the top as well as the bottom, and it will automatically change the height. So we don't need to worry about that. So that kind of step right there is not actually needed. It's a good technique to know just in case if you need to do it, but it's not needed. So anyway, continue on with the video.
This is pretty much just the node setup. This is a super simple one to do. I bet there's probably a better way of doing this, truthfully. I'm sure there's probably a way that actually makes it a perfect height map, because Blender is amazing, and I'm sure there's a way of doing it using the camera settings, something with, in fact, there's actually a camera, let's see, there's actually a camera thing over here, wherever it went. But you guys could definitely play around with it, and there's also light path. There's some really cool things that we could try. However, this is the way that I've been doing it, and I think this works really well. I haven't had really any issues, especially if now I know how to do it. So for me, I haven't really had very many issues here of late. But you guys could definitely play around with it, and you can find a better way of doing it. So don't be afraid to try new things out, for sure. Now I'm going to render my image out. Yep, that's the right size. Let me double check. Yep, that is the right size. This looks all good. Now we can render the image out. First off, it needs to be a PNG. So let me actually make sure that I go into here, and I need to go show you the output wherever output went. That's not it. There we go. Output. So it needs to be a PNG. It could also be, there's a couple other things that it could be, but it's because of the color value of it. In fact, I'd recommend putting it to 16 color depth. You pretty much need it to be a certain kind of image. In fact, TIFF, I believe, is another one that works. Go into World Painter, and I don't want this open. I want to make a new world. No, don't want to save my save anything, and I'll just create it as is right now. So here we go. We can go edit, we can import a height map into current dimension, and then we can go in here and we can click on our height map. There we go. Now it should just be good automatically, but let's actually see if it's good. As you can tell, there's a lot of water covering most of the map because it is going pretty much down to bedrock level. Now, because we set ours to be basically a good height, I'm just going to create a new map real quick and create it again. Here we go. So let's go into here. Let's go to edit, import height map into current dimension. This is actually useful for you guys to know, so good thing that I did not remember to do this. Water level is at 62. Now, if you want the water to be lowered by a certain number of blocks, just go to the bottom on the Minecraft side and add however many that you want it to be. I'm going to make mine, let's see, 48 blocks up, and actually I need to get the height map set up. There we go, and this will be 48 blocks up. There we go. So there, yeah, as you can see, it has a lot more of our blocks in there. Now I'm going to paint a little bit of it. Now if we go to the top left hand corner, you have the spray paint can. That's not what we want. We want this little right thing right there. Now we can go into our file, we can export as new map. To save time, I'm going to remove structures, put it into creative mode, and I'm going to make sure that there's no resources. There's also no caverns, there's pretty much nothing else in the world. This will just make sure that it's very fast export. If you're going to do this for a marketplace map, or if you're going to do it for any other sort of map, I'd recommend having your resources, having some other things in there. The resources just removes like cobblestone and things like that. And obviously, I'm just showing you how to generate the map. I don't need to show you anything with the resources. I'm not going to be playing it, so obviously I don't really need to have the resources in there. So it's just a way for me to save a little bit of time whenever I'm doing it. And that's also a good idea for you guys if you're working on a map for a very long time. The rendering times of that and the loading time of that can actually waste a lot of time. So making the map like I just did with a lot of the stuff removed will save you just a little bit of time, but that little bit of time will end up adding up, will add up a lot over time, basically. So here we go. So this is the map. It looks pretty good. There we go. I think this turned out quite great. Now, obviously, this map is already really, really tall. So it's sort of hard to get, sometimes it can be very difficult to get an idea of how tall the map is actually going to be until you get into the map. But as you can see, this is why I added the colors with the paintbrush. And I would say if I was going to do this again, obviously I can just lower the entire map. That would be an easy way of doing this. So that's actually something that we could pretty easily do. All we need to do is if you want to change the height map. So here we go. Let's actually go and check this out. So yeah, there we are. So now as you can see, it is pretty much half the height, which this actually looks really cool already. And this is, as I mentioned, this is a great way of making terrain. This is a completely different style of terrain already. It's just like an island at the moment. So yeah, this is actually really, really cool. But as you can tell, using different settings and stuff, you can get a lot of different results just by fiddling with things in this. So yeah, as mentioned, this is just such an easy method for generating terrain, and it's free. It's using an open source program. It's just a really awesome method. Obviously, you can remove the this thing over here. You don't need this. That's just because I was lazy and I didn't want to remove that. You should already, as mentioned, know the basics of World Painter before starting. So I'm not going to show you exactly how to do that because you should already know the basics of how to actually use World Painter before you started this. So I'm not going to go too much over that. But yeah, hopefully you really enjoyed this video and hope to see you in the next video for learning the second method on how to actually do this using nodes instead. Should be really interesting. You should learn a lot then as well. So yeah, don't forget to also share this video because this video is not going to be a very popular video on YouTube. This is, as you can tell, pretty decently advanced topic for a YouTube video. So if you guys actually think that people will enjoy this video or learn a lot from this video or save money or save time from this video, I would recommend sharing it with them. I'm going to be advertising this video quite a bit myself because I think this is the kind of information that a lot of people would really enjoy, as well as a lot of information that is very needed and necessary and save a lot of time and a lot of money for a lot of different people. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did learn quite a bit, then definitely don't forget to comment as well as, reshare the video. So yeah, definitely check out the next one if you want to learn how to do this kind of stuff using nodes. Now, the benefit of nodes before I actually say good night or whatever, the outro of this video, the useful thing about nodes is that you can get infinite levels of detail. So let's say if you're doing a 20K by 20K map, I don't know why you would ever want to do a map that large, but if you do, then you're going to need to use, you're probably going to need to use need to use the nodes, because the nodes have scalable details. So basically, it's effectively infinite detail. Now, the reason why this is useful is that if you have a 20K by 20K map and you're trying to use and you want it to have a lot of detail, then you pretty much have to do it that way. Because as you saw earlier, whenever I was in here, if I want to increase the detail on this, I actually have to do that whenever I was making it, and I actually have to change the amount of polygons in it. So this is 1 polygon. Now so if I actually wanted, as I shown you, if you want to make it have more resolution and make it more detailed, you actually have to add more polygons, which takes up a lot of space. Like this right here has 1,000,000 faces. There's 1,000,000 of these right here. So there's 1,000,000 faces. There's 1,000,000 vertices. It's just a lot of information. The memory, there's 484 megabytes of information in this, and that's pretty much all from the polygons in this map right here. So that's why I would recommend to not use this method if you're doing an absolutely massive map. So yeah, that's why I would recommend for you guys to use the node method, so that you can save a lot of time that way. So anyway, long story short, I would recommend doing that kind of method for very, very, very large maps. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great, wonderful, sublime day, and God bless, and I will see you then.